the single biggest motivator by far, any guesses? Making progress in meaningful work. The days people were making progress were the days they were motivated. The days people were making progress were the days they felt good about where they were working. The days people were making progress were the days, hey, I'm going to come back tomorrow and try to do something. Enormously important finding, I think, especially with change. Because if people feel like there's no progress being made in change, they end up giving up. They say this is fruitless. These people aren't serious about it. Now, here's the challenge. Progress depends on feedback. The only way you know whether you're making progress is if you're getting information on how you're doing. Think about driving. If you wanted to drive somewhere, imagine not having an odometer, speedometer, GPS, road marker signs. How would you get there? People literally have bad dreams about this. Am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? Am I going in the right direction or so? And I think that the feedback mechanisms, the information mechanisms inside of firms are pathetic. I mean, they're ridiculous. They're a joke at some level. And even though I don't put a lot of, I'm very skeptical of generational explanations for things, I think there's a generational difference here as well. So think about this for a second. Is there anybody here who's 30 years old? Any 30-year-olds out there? Yes, right there. Okay. So tell me your first name. Pernilla. Okay, Pernilla. You're 30. What year? So you can I ask you a few questions? Okay. So 30 years old. You were born in 1985? Okay, you're born in 1985. So do you remember when you first used a personal computer? Okay, when would that? It's not a deposition, so when would that be? Yeah. Okay, but primary school? Okay, primary school. And did you use the internet in secondary school? Yeah, okay. And I imagine you go to university? And internet in university? Great, okay. In the last 30 years, Pernilla, have you ever played a video game? Okay, yes, you played a video game. If you were to send a text to someone in, say, Sweden, how long would it take to get there? Yeah. Not long. Give me a unit. Second, okay? And if you were to receive a text from Sweden, how long would it take to get there? Same, about a second. Pernilla, suppose that I were up here and I had a brain freeze, and I wanted to know the gross domestic product of Belarus. Could you tell me? How long would it take you? Less than a minute. Okay. So anybody here 45 and older? Let's see a quick show of hands. Admit it, okay? So I want all of you to think about this. I want you to think about this at the unit of one. I want you to think about Pernilla's life here, okay? She started using a personal computer in primary school. She used the internet in secondary school. By the time that she was in university, internet was part of her life, right? She's played video games her entire life. You think about her, so think about, no, this is important. Think about Pernilla's life, all right? You press a button, something happens. You play a game, you get a score. You send a text to another country, it gets there in 1 second. You receive a text from another country, it gets to you in 1 second. We want to know the most obscure fact in the world, and it's the gross domestic product of Belarus is a pretty obscure fact, right? She could find it out in less than a minute. My guess is that she wouldn't even have to use 8 of her fingers to figure it out, all right? This is Pernilla's life. Rich, regular, robust, meaningful feedback all the time. Then we take this generation of people and we put them into large organizations, and how do we give them feedback? Once a year. We say, I know that the rest of your life is rich, regular, robust, meaningful, personalized, relevant feedback, that it's the oxygen that you breathe your entire 30 years of your life on this planet. But, sorry, in this alternative universe, we give you feedback once a year in an awkward kabuki theater-style conversation with your boss, all right? It's completely antithetical to to the most important piece of research and talent, and to the experiences of an entire generation. So this is one reason why things are changing out there. And this is a pretty big deal. I mean, again, I think it sort of reminds me of Roger's idea of like looking back 50 years from now. Like, I think the idea of these formal performance reviews are going to seem kind of comical. And right now you have companies like Adobe getting rid of performance reviews. Okay, Silicon Valley company, all right, kind of groovy, not that big of a surprise. But then you have GE getting rid of performance reviews. You have Accenture getting rid of performance reviews. I think people are beginning to recognize the problem. Here's the goal here. The goal is to make the feedback mechanisms inside of the firm almost as robust as they are for people outside.